Call this meeting of the Plan Commission to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Ash?
Here.
Ms. Bindum? Mr. Fell?
Here.
Mr. Fitch?
Here.
Mr. Hopkins?
Here.
Mr. Otto? Ms. Stake?
Yes.
Ms. Hoopa Bant?
We do have a quorum. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there's not.
We've got some minutes to approve. The minutes of
March 6th.
March 6th. I got them somewhere.
Yeah. I don't think I was here, so
Oh, here
I
they are.
can't say.
March 6th. Any changes to the minutes? Can I get a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Ash, seconded by Mr. Hopkins. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are approved. Do we have any communications?
No?
We have no continued public hearings. I was wondering about those continued public hearings that we had from before.
Sure, I can update you. Let's see, one of them was on the Greenways and Trails plan.
Yes.
That one, we decided it's been so long that we're just going to re-advertise that when the county
Makes
is ready
sense.
to bring it forward. The other one was Countryside Second Subdivision. They are actually going back to the drawing board, and they will probably be coming back at our next plan commission.
Will that be a new case then?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
old
not sure
business?
yet. It's not a public hearing, so I'm not sure how we'll
Okay.
handle it.
All right, I guess we'll find out. So, okay, thanks. We don't have any old business, and so we do have a new public hearing, and I'll open that now. And the way we do things is that I'll open a case, the staff will present a summary, the petitioner will outline the request, present evidence, other proponents may present evidence, opponents may predict, with a material interest may present evidence and ask questions of the petitioner through me. Others may be heard. Staff may make additional comments or clarification. The petitioner may offer rebuttal, summarize his case. Then we will close the public hearing, discuss the case, and we may vote on the case. So with that, I'll open Plan Case Number 2232 SU14, a request by Bainbridge Community Acquisition for reapproval of the special use permit to construct multifamily residential at 1008, 1010, 1012 West University Avenue and 508 North Goodwin Avenue in the B3 zoning district.
All right.
Mr. Engstrom.
Thank you. This is a case the Plan Commission has seen a few times before. Their most recent approval was in October 2012, and special use permit approval is only good for 1 year. So they weren't able to move forward and get a building permit in that time, so the special use permit expired, and they're just bringing their request back for reapproval here. It's a 5-story apartment building with commercial on the ground floor along University Avenue. There will be an attached 5-level parking garage on Goodwin Avenue. It's a 3-acre property. It has frontages on University and Goodwin. Let's see, in the B3 zoning district. And the reason we're here is that multifamily residential use is a special use in the table of uses. The project has been slightly modified from what was approved in 2012, although the setbacks and footprints are all the same. The difference is there's slightly less parking, a level less of parking, and there are some of the units have been rearranged inside the building, so there's more units with more bedrooms and less units with 1 bedroom. So there would be approximately 2,000 square feet of retail space on the ground floor. That's staying the same as the previous approval. 181 residential units over 5 floors, and 277 parking spaces in the attached parking garage, an additional 14 parking spaces adjacent to the commercial uses accessed off of University Avenue. A little background, City Council also approved a related case, or two cases, for major variances to allow this development back in 2012. And those variances are still in effect for the current development. As I noted before, the project is along University Avenue, which is a major east-west corridor through Urbana and Champaign, connects the two cities. This area just west of Lincoln Avenue is commercial corridor that kind of introduces people to the university. The university is generally just south of University Avenue here. Looking at some of the uses around here. The subject site is a 3-acre parcel here. It's kind of oddly shaped. It's currently got some old office building and commercial buildings on it. Those are slated to be demolished soon. Along University Avenue, there's commercial uses, the pawn shop, locksmith to the east. To the west and directly south of the subject site is restaurants and a multi-use building on the corner of Goodwin and University with retail and office. Nearby to the north, there's industrial / utility uses, Ameren substation, the water company. Across the street to the west, so facing the proposed parking garage, there's a parking lot for Provena and the Hampton Inn there. And then, as I mentioned, to the south, there's the University of Illinois, and there's also some more restaurant uses as you move east along University Avenue. And this one directly south, where I'm pointing now, is actually vacant. Taking a look at our zoning districts. Subject property is zoned B3. The other properties along University Avenue are also zoned B3, general business. Just to the north, the properties are zoned IN1, light industrial / office. But all the directly surrounding properties are B3 and commercial in nature. Taking a look at the future land use map. My mouse. The subject property, the future land use for the property is community business, but it is adjacent to some properties where the future land use is designated as campus mixed use. So staff feels that the proposed development will complement those future land uses and the area in general. Taking a look at the comprehensive plan, there's a couple relevant goals. Goal 2, new development in established neighborhoods will be compatible with the overall design and fabric of the neighborhood. New uses will enhance the existing community. Goal 18, promote infill development. This is a site we've been wanting to see developed as infill for some time. Promote a strong housing supply to meet the demands of the community and the university. Create additional commercial areas to strengthen the city's tax base. This project will bring in a substantial amount of property tax. Also encourage development in areas where adequate infrastructure already exists, which this site is served by all the utilities. So taking a look at let's go through the development regulations real quick. The proposed building height would be, it would be 5 stories, approximately 62 feet above grade. The attached parking structure, you can see here, would be, again, 5 levels, about 52 feet. So that's within the, what's allowed in the B3 district. In terms of floor area ratio, the maximum area for the district is 4.0. The subject property would be about just over 2.0. Setbacks, again, there was a variance granted, or two major variances granted. Go back here. For the property to encroach just a little bit into the required yards.
Do
And-
what?
Yeah.
Did you have a question, Ms. Dake?
I just have a question as to where was it would go into?
I'm sorry?
The rear yard, what, you repeat that?
Okay, yeah, yeah. So the reason for the variance is because the building is a residential use and it's above 35 feet in height, there's additional setback required. So for every 10 feet of building height over 25 feet, there's a requirement of an extra 3 feet of setback. So the minimum setback would be 17 feet from the side property lines, and 22 feet from the rear property line. But the variance would allow it to be reduced, let's see. It'll encroach 7 feet into the required side yard and 12 feet into the required rear yard. I don't have a graphic with me here that shows which yards are side and rear. Basically, the ones along the street are front yards. The one along the railroad is a rear yard. Pretty much all of these parallel to University Avenue are considered side yards.
So,
So it's,
So
These
there's some
buildings here.
encroachment back here where it says Building D.
are you saying that you don't have the space then? They'll be covering up what should be spaces out there?
Right, right. So yeah, the variance was granted in 2012 to allow them to encroach an extra 7 feet into the side yard and 12 feet into the rear yard.
That's a lot.
yeah, those variances are already been approved by the council and are
I
still in
see.
force, so they're not really a part of this case.
Yeah. Yeah, as I mentioned, the footprint of the building is the exact same as what was approved by Plan Commission and Council in 2012. So those are the yards. Access, one update from the previous approval, traffic impact analysis has been completed and approved by the city engineer. The way access is going to work, there's a drive off of University Avenue, which goes between the 2 retail spaces to access. Oh, let me zoom in here. Okay, yep. Between the 2 retail spaces to access a parking area that'll serve the retail spaces. And then over on Goodwin Avenue, there will be a drive here to access the proposed parking garage for the residents. And there's also emergency vehicle access along the side here and through the back here. So the developer has worked closely with the fire department to make sure they have access to all sides of the building in case of emergency. In terms of parking, the required parking for this development, let's see, there would be required to have 14 spaces to serve the retail component, which they have, and 266 spaces to serve the 181 dwelling units, and they are providing 277 to serve those dwelling units. So they do have some extra parking, but not too much. Also, there's bicycle parking, which will be located here. It'll be covered parking, which is something extra. So that is the site. I'll just walk through the requirements for a special use permit real quick. The criteria we look at. The first one, that the proposed use is conducive to the public convenience at that location. This use is convenient to the public convenience because of where it is and the mixed use aspect of it. It's along the commercial corridor, so the retail component will serve that purpose. It's within walking distance and bicycling distance of the University of Illinois, so that'll be convenient for students who reside there. And the mixed use aspect of the development itself lends itself to shorter trips and to reduced reliance on automotive transportation, and will ultimately be more convenient for the residents. Our second criteria, proposed use will not be detrimental to the district in which it's located. It meets this criteria. In general, construction of residences in a commercial zoning district introduces a generally less intensive use into a more intensive district. So they're not really going to be causing any harm to the neighbors, the restaurants, the utilities to the north or to the locksmith. The University Avenue corridor can accommodate both commercial and residential developments. The commercial uses are anticipated to be consistent with the commercial nature of the area. There will probably be a restaurant type use. And the proposed parking area is located behind the building on University, so it's not going to be very prominent along the main thoroughfare. So there will be a consistent facade along University Avenue here. And here's a rendering of the proposed facade along University Avenue. The colors in this are a little brighter than what will be in the final built scheme. And the final criteria. Proposed use conforms to applicable regulations and preserves the essential character of the district which is located. Again, it will enhance the general appearance of the corridor. It'll have similar uses to the restaurants that it's next to, on the street level at least. So we believe that criteria is also met. So options tonight. Plan Commission can recommend reapproval of the proposed special use, recommend reapproval of the proposed special use with additional conditions, or recommend denial of the reapproval. Staff's recommendation, without hearing any additional evidence, is that Plan Commission forward the case to City Council with a recommendation for reapproval, subject to the following conditions. 1, the development shall be constructed in general conformance with the attached site plan, submitted on April 17th. The zoning administrator shall have authority to approve minor changes that are substantially in compliance with the approved site plan, if they are necessary for the project to comply with city codes, including building, fire, site development codes. And the second condition, that the design and appearance of the development shall be of a high standard of quality, in substantial conformance with the attached illustrations. And tonight we have a couple of representatives for the project. Ron Pereira from Bainbridge, and also Don Adams from the engineer from Farnsworth. They'll be able to answer questions you have for them, and I'd be happy to take questions for staff.
Any questions for Mr. Engstrom? Mr. Fell?
Minor question. There could be a use in the commercial portion that forces parking requirements in excess of 14. Do we have what does staff feel about that?
So the way we calculated the requirement is we assumed it would be half retail and half restaurant use. So there indeed, if there were both restaurant uses, there would be a higher requirement. However, they do have the extra 11 spaces in the parking deck, so we believe they would be adequately covered. They just might have to have some employees walking a little distance.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Oh.
Ms. Stake?
I just wonder what the people on the University Avenue think about it.
Well, we sent out, as required by ordinance, we sent out letters to all the property owners and residents within 300 feet of the property. We got one response, basically from the owner of the western portion of the property here, the owner of the former Odman Hecker building. He's basically he's been waiting for the project to proceed. That was all he had to say. But no one else gave us any response.
Anything further for Mr. Engstrom? Thank you, Mr. Engstrom. And if the petitioners would care to address the Plan Commission, you're welcome to.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ron Pereira. I'm with the Bainbridge Companies. As Mr. Engstrom said in his staff report, we are applying for reapproval of our previously approved special use permit in order to start construction of the project within the next 60 days or so. Mr. Don Adams with the Farnsworth Group is here as well. They're the civil engineer for the project. We thank you for your previous support of the project, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Mr. Pereira? Ms.
Well,
Stake?
I have a question. So you have some places for students to go, right, to live, who are at the university? Is this what this is for?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
students?
Yes, this will primarily be targeted towards students.
Uh-huh. Is it going to be real expensive? Or not so expensive?
Sure.
Or what you're
Well,
going to have?
Yeah, what we...
Because
Go ahead.
we'd like, I think it's costing people so much now to go to college, which it shouldn't be costing that much. And if they have to live someplace that's very expensive, then a lot of the people, of course, those who are rich would be fine, but those who are not wouldn't have a chance.
Yes. So we have a mixture of units in the building. We have a fairly large number of 2-bedroom, 2-bath units and 4-bedroom, 4-bath units. I believe it's 88 of the 2-2s and 85 of the 4-4s. And the most expensive units are the 1-bedroom, 1-bath units, which are occupied by only one person. We only have 8 of those. And so we've set the rents, or penciled in the rents for now, kind of in line with some of the newer projects in the area. And so there's a fairly wide variety of housing in the area, from older projects that are more affordable to the newer projects, such as this one. That'll be luxury housing, provide really high-end amenities, big exercise room, plenty of study rooms for the students. So there's there should be nicer, more amenitized projects available for those who want it. And it's also it'll be a secured building, so give the residents a good, strong sense of security. And some folks really like that, and the parents like that as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Inkster?
If I could address that as well. This is a part of the cycle of housing around the university is we get newer units that are more expensive, and then everyone kind of shifts up, and the other units actually become more expensive. The older units in the area become less expensive. So people can afford things that are a little nicer than what they were previously in. And also, we've been seeing a lot of new units on campus on the Champaign side over the last few years. So it's good to see a development in Urbana to kind of get the new units in our city, which provide a little better tax base for us.
Any further questions of the petitioner? Mr. Fell?
Yep. Mr. Engstrom told us a little bit how this is different than the previous application. Can you just run through that?
Sure. The major change, well, we've made a few changes to the building, and really they're in response to the escalating construction costs. As the country has kind of come out of the recession in the last 2 years or 18 months, there was very little, almost no construction work from roughly 2008 to 2011. And around the country, we came out of that fairly quickly, and there's been a ramp up in construction activity. And so with that, a lot of the contractors and subcontractors have gotten extremely busy. In the last 2 years, there's a lot of work going on in all parts of the country. And so we've seen kind of an extreme hike in the cost of labor and materials. And so what we've done is we value engineered the building a little bit without touching the level of finishes or the look of the building, and we've pulled out some of the unnecessary items, such as kind of a strange-looking lighthouse feature on the top of the building, an industrial-looking sign, and we've cut down the level of the garage as well, which I think will be a benefit since we're adjacent to campus. I don't think we needed as much parking as we previously had programmed. And we've also revised the unit mix to provide more 4-bedroom, 4-bath units and less of the more expensive 1-bedroom, 2-bath units, while still maintaining the exact same footprint of the building. So the new building actually has 15 less units than the previous one, but 15 more bedrooms.
Good for you. Anything else, Mr. Ash?
So, very loud, forgive me. So in that case, what delayed the project to now? Can you give insight on that?
Yeah, it was, like I mentioned, the rise in construction costs. When we first submitted the application back in late 2012, we had penciled in our hard costs, our construction costs, at about $30.5 million. Today, our budget is $36 million. And so, again, it's been, 16 months, something like that, and the costs have gone up. So we've had to rework the project a little bit and do a little bit of value engineering.
And presuming everything is, processed expediently, when do you all expect to open your doors?
We expect to start construction within the next 60 days or so, and we have a 2-year window for construction, which allows plenty of time for delays, winter weather. Our plan is to open in time for the 2016 school year, so fall of 2016.
Excellent. Any further questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to address the Plan Commission on this case? If not, I'll close the public hearing and we'll begin discussion. Any thoughts on this, or any motions? If no discussion, no further discussion is required. We've been through it twice.
I'll make a motion. We send this to the city council for recommendation for
with the conditions?
Yeah, with the conditions noted by Jeff.
Okay. Okay, I think he beat you by a whisker. Motion by Mr. Fell, seconded by Mr. Hopkins. And if we can have a roll call whenever you're prepared.
Mr. Fell? Mr. Fitch?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins? Ms. Stake?
Yes.
And Mr. Ash?
That motion passes. And do we have any idea when it will be going to the city council?
May 19th.
May 19th. Thank you. Continuing with the agenda then, we have no new business. And now we have an audience participation section. Does anybody care to address the Plan Commission? You have 5 minutes. And if you could state your name, Ms. Bekusic, and sign the paper, that would be great.
Carol McCusick, 1907 North Cunningham Avenue. Is that working?
It is, but maybe pull it closer. Yeah, there you go.
I believe that there is a problem in the Plan Commission bylaws that are okay, I'm in them right now. That's the Article 4 of the bylaws from 2005, which are appear to be the current Plan Commission bylaws, because they're at the web page posted with the annual reports. And I think that at least since January of 2011, it would be in violation of the Illinois Open Meetings Act for regular meetings may be canceled. And that would be, I think that the Illinois Open Meetings Act doesn't have the word canceled. And I think there's a reason for that. I think that they call it half of rescheduling. In other words, it's you could say when a meeting is rescheduled, it's taken away from one date and put on another date. So is the date that it, or from a place and time, a place and time of day and a date, and to put in another place, time, and date. That change, you could call it I think the Illinois Open Meetings Act calls that a rescheduling in 2.02 and 2.03, and it doesn't use the word canceled. And I think the reason for that is that it requires a schedule of the regular meetings of the year, and they have to be worked out as to time and a location for every regular meeting of that year in advance of the beginning of the year. And that the reason for that, I think, is that you're supposed to be able to count on them. Well, that was already in the Illinois Open Meetings Act before the 1st of 2011. But as of the 1st of 2011, I think you have this public comment law that every public body is supposed to record a rule for allowing the public to speak. So with that simply would reinforce the fact that you're counting on that, and that is an aspect of what's a regular meeting is for, not just for hearing cases, which is, the way the Plan Commission acts. It acts, but its bylaws like this that say the chairperson can cancel meetings or cancel it if you have no cases, and that's in a different part that's under the order of business. don't take into account that there's stuff to do for a public body that comes up in public comment, or so you should have every meeting, and I've brought that up before. With the revision of the bylaws, this is something I haven't had a chance to get out. Could you have, like the city, or the Cunningham Town Board, for example, has a budget that they approve, and they take about 3 months when they can approve it sooner. But, okay, what I'm suggesting is that you have it published what date you're going to revise the bylaws, pass the bylaws as amended. But during the entire period that it's always under review or maybe it's on the schedule of regular meetings, what the period of review is, and during that time, people bring in their amendments in like a 2-week process of bringing it in, and then you can possibly vote on the amendment. So you could pass amendments during that time, but they wouldn't be passing the whole bylaws until the end, to this anticipated date. So you'd always know that the process had been done that year and whether or not what the result of it was. Because I'm being critical, and I'm trying to be critical of Chair Fitch, because he puts, like you presented in the explanation of how the public hearing is run, is that the opponents can raise their questions, and then I will mediate the question, or I will pass the question along to the petitioner if I think that it should be passed along. Or
No, I will pass the question along.
that is how you would like the bylaws to read, but I was going to say that this came up in March of 2013, maybe? Yeah, I would say, but that in a discussion of the bylaws on March 21st, I don't think there's video up, but it must exist somewhere. And I remember that one of the things that you might have offered an amendment or something, but this is how I remember it, right? That in the discussion.
I'm going to have to ask you to start winding it down, Ms. McCusick. Now, in regard to the bylaws, we do need to review them. Unfortunately, we started that process, and then the city staff dwindled down to Mr. Engstrom. So they're trying to rebuild that, get some new hires and get everybody hired, and hopefully we can revisit those soon as we're required to. And those will be public hearings, and your input will be valuable, and the input of anybody else who would like to address us. And these rules that I go over before the meeting were really put together by the city legal staff. So as far as I know, they accurately reflect the bylaws. But again, we will be having that discussion, and we will be welcome to bring your suggestions when that comes back up, or continue to address this in public participation.
Oh, well, the concrete suggestion I kind of hope comes up. Oh.
You can go ahead, but I'm only going to give you about 1 more minute.
That I hope comes out that I hope comes out in the account in the minutes, is that I hope that it would say that I'm suggesting that on the schedule of regular meetings, an opening date and a closing date for the review of the bylaws that's provided for in the number 7 under Article 4 meetings. The Plan Commission shall review the bylaws at least once annually at a regular meeting. Mm-hmm. So that would be a period instead of a regular meeting. Like it's the opening bell is March 21st. because at the July 9th regular meeting, we're going to, you'd have every regular meeting. We're going to pass our new bylaws, and amendment in between those dates, if you made some interim decisions, it would be a decision on an amendment. It wouldn't be a decision of the whole bylaws, but that people would know when the new ones became in effect. I think that's hope that just
Okay, well, thank you for your testimony today.
comes out in the minutes. Thank you so much.
Okay, do we have a staff report?
Just a quick update on the cases Plan Commission last approved. The Soccer Planet rezoning and subdivision were approved by City Council, so that project will proceed. The annual zoning map was adopted by City Council. It's up on the website. And the motion to defeat a resolution of protest on the County Board ZBA case was accepted, and council defeated that protest.
Okay, thank you. No study session tonight, so we are adjourned.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.